Hello, welcome back to the You at Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Morgan. So, for this week's episode, I wanted to talk about finding the courage to embrace and feel your negative emotions. And I'll also talk a little bit about shadow work. I think I'll make a whole other episode about shadow work in itself, but this episode will probably talk a little bit about it too. So, for me, and for a lot of us, we avoid our negative emotions because we really struggle to fully understand the emotions. Negative emotions are kind of all over the place, and it's really hard to get control of them. And I know for me, whenever I feel a lack of control, I get really scared and really worried. And whenever you let yourself feel your negative emotions, sometimes it's like you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And I don't know a lot of the time, like, if my negative emotions are ever going to go away if I let myself fully feel them. So a lot of the time, I just push them down. And I know a lot of us do this. We are so scared of our negative emotions taking over and controlling our lives that we end up pushing them down. And then on top of that, the world that we live in, where we have to constantly be going and going, sometimes we don't even have a chance to take the time to feel those emotions. And since we don't know how long it's going to take for those emotions to go away, a lot of the time we can just push them down because it's easier. It's easier in a world where we're always moving and there's so much going on around us, and there's not really any time to do anything else. And I think it's so important that we allow ourselves to feel those emotions even whenever it's scary. And yes, I'm saying allow because sometimes it feels like we're forcing ourselves to feel them, when in reality, all our soul wants is for us to relinquish them and let go of them. Because I don't think we realize it, but us pushing those feelings down is just us holding on to them for longer than we need to. And it's just going to build up, and it's going to create stress in our minds and in our bodies. And I truly think that's why in the world that we live in today, there's so many depressed people and so many people who are just really unkind because they're so burnt out from life. And then also, like with anger, for me, I really struggle to allow myself to feel it because of people pleasing. If someone does something that makes me angry, I I feel guilty letting them know because I don't want them to feel bad. And then on top of that, I feel like I've spent my whole life kind of being treated a certain way. Because of that, it feels like I have kind of become numb to certain things. Like if someone were to do something to my baby, I would be so angry and so disappointed, and it would genuinely hurt so much. But if someone were to do it to me, it wouldn't really hurt as bad because I guess I'm just used to it. And that's a really sad reality for a lot of us. But if you're angry, feel angry. If you're sad, feel sad. And I know I've said in the past, like, you don't have to feel that anger if you don't want to. Like, if it's something that is easily something to let go, and if holding on to it just causes you more stress, then that's whenever I think you should let go of it. But if letting go of it just makes it build up inside of you because you're so angry, let it out. I truly believe that there's a time and a place, and sometimes there truly are times where feeling our anger only makes us feel worse, and feeling our resentment only makes us feel worse because we're kind of creating that resentment ourselves. And for me, a lot of the time, whenever something happens, I try not to let it bother me because really it doesn't matter. Like, other people around me, their actions have everything to do with them and nothing to do with me. So there's no need for me to be angry about it. But there are some things that I truly am angry about. An example is, right now, a lot of people are saying that vaccines are creating autism. And it just makes me so angry because of how untrue it is and how invalidating it is to autistic people. I feel like it takes away from the autistic experience. It makes people see autism in a way that diminishes our struggles. But there are certain things that we can be angry about. And I think for me, systematic things are what make me angry. Systematic racism, sexism, the way that people view mental health, and that kind of stuff makes me so angry. So I'm gonna let myself feel it instead of pushing it down. I'm gonna express it. I'm gonna start doing more of sharing information with people. But at the same time, if I know that I am overwhelmed, and like say I'm visiting family at like a family dinner, if someone is saying some really crappy things, like really homophobic things or whatever it is, and I am already overwhelmed, in that situation, I'm not going to force myself to say something just because I feel like it's my job to. Because, yes, of course, it's our job to say something whenever people say things like that. But if it only makes you more stressed and more anxious, and it only creates a conversation with someone that you don't want to have a conversation with in that way because you know that they're going to get so angry, you do not have to say anything. And I was talking about this in a past episode, and I was thinking back to that the other day, and I was kind of starting to feel a little bit guilty because I don't want people to think that I'm saying that you shouldn't stand up for people or that you shouldn't feel your emotions. I just mean any time that it's going to make it harder on you. You got to really notice yourself, and if that anger helps you feel better, if talking about it helps you feel better, do it. But if talking about it makes you feel stressed and overwhelmed and anxious and even scared whenever someone is acting a certain way, then you don't have to talk about it. But whenever it comes to our emotions that we want to feel and that we need to feel, because if we keep them in, they're going to create so much issues emotionally and physically for our bodies and our mental well-being. That's whenever we need to feel them, even though it's hard, even though it's scary. It's so important, and it doesn't mean that we have to feel them for other people. You can do whatever it is that you need to do right now. And if that means not talking to people about things that they've done, that's okay. You don't have to talk to people about the things they've done that hurt you if you're not ready to talk to them about it. But you can still feel that emotion. And I also want to say that if you choose not to talk to someone about something, that is okay. But it's also so important for your mental health to make sure that you don't build resentment. I know for me, I don't let myself resent that person if I'm not going to talk to them about it. I deal with that emotion on my own in my own time, and I don't share with them. And that's it. I don't let it build up inside of me. I let go of it after I felt it. And I think that's something that a lot of us are missing whenever we say it's important to feel your emotions. Like, I would hear people say all the time that you need to feel your emotions, but I didn't understand what that meant. And that's what this episode is for, because I'm just tired of people barely giving you information and not really helping you understand, just saying feel your emotions, and then you're like, okay, but there's so many other things that come along with that. So feeling our emotions is going to bring us closer to our higher selves. And that is because whenever you feel anything, you're letting go of it. And your higher self is present whenever you are at the state of the most peace and calm and relaxation. And whenever we let ourselves feel those emotions over time, since they're not building up inside of our bodies, we are getting closer and closer to our higher selves because we are being so much more at peace with everything else that's around us. And also, whenever you're relinquishing the control of other people, I know I've talked about this in a previous episode, you don't have to stop and feel your emotions so many times. You don't have to stop and let yourself get through those negative emotions whenever someone does something that's really painful or really hurts you. Because in a way, it's kind of sad, but it does bring you down to reality. People are going to be people, and humans always hurt each other, and most of the time, people are not doing it to try to hurt you. A lot of the time, it's that they have their own issues going on, A lot of the time they're really insecure, so they project that onto you, or they just had a bad day and maybe they're overwhelmed and they have a really hard time controlling their emotions, so they take it out on you. There are so many reasons, and it's never personal. The only time it's personal is if maybe they resent you for something, and if they resent you for something and they're not talking to you about it, that isn't your problem either. Other people's actions, other people's emotions are not your problem. And I know a lot of us are raised in families where you have to kind of be on a high alert anytime anyone has an emotion. And our brains are kind of trained to notice that. We're hyper aware, we're very observant of other people's emotions and how other people are feeling, and sometimes it can be really uncomfortable whenever other people have negative emotions. But remember that it has nothing to do with you at all. And something I like to really think about is like how irritated I get whenever I'm around people who won't let me feel however I'm feeling. It's like they're kind of hijacking my emotions and trying to control how I'm acting and how I feel so that I can stop making them uncomfortable. And a lot of us, whenever we feel like we have to take over people's emotions, that's how we make other people feel too. And just remember, like, the only thing that you're responsible for is you and your emotions. And if someone is angry at you for whatever reason, you do not have to take on that anger. If they're yelling at you, whatever, you don't have to take that on. It has nothing to do with you. And I know a lot of the time that's way easier said than done, but if it's overwhelming for you, you can leave. I know a lot of the time if we hurt someone, we feel this obligation to let them get out that hurt, to let them talk to us however they want because they're in pain. But if someone is talking to you in a way that is very triggering and you're so uncomfortable, you can excuse yourself. You don't have to get angry with them. You can still be kind because you understand that they're hurt and that's why they're acting the way that they are. But you don't have to sit there and endure that pain because their anger is their anger, not yours. So if you want to be closer to your higher self and if you want to be your best self, as my podcast is named, You at Your Best, start feeling those negative emotions, those emotions that you're so scared of. And like I said before, the reason why we don't let ourselves feel those emotions is because we don't know how long it's going to take. And it truly can take such a long time. And I get it. Like it's hard and it's in a way irritating. Like you just want it to get over with. So you kind of just try to push it to the side or push it away. But if you don't let yourself feel them now, they will build up inside of you. And there's no good in that. Over time, there have been links to people allowing their emotions to build up so much that they start to get physical health issues. They're doing so unwell mentally that it affects them physically. Because even though mental health is something that people kind of think isn't a thing sometimes, truth is, it is. And it affects you in every single way. It affects your body. It affects you how you age. A lot of people can die earlier and quicker just because they have mental health issues that they're not fixing. And I'm not saying that to scare anyone, because you can fix it and you can always get to a place to where you're healthier and you feel better and you feel okay. But in order to do that, you have to feel those emotions that are so scary. So like half of my audio just disappeared. So I'm going to record the rest of the episode now. But I just wanted to share some techniques that I use to help you embrace and process your negative emotions. So the first one is to view your emotions objectively without any positive or negative meaning attached to them. Just sit in the feeling. And throughout this entire process, try to remember that there is nothing wrong with how you feel, no matter what it is, no matter how stupid you may think that it is, there is nothing wrong with it. It is an emotion, and you can't really intellectualize emotions. You can't think about like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way. You can't stop yourself from feeling how you're feeling. So the best thing you can do is to just notice that emotion without judgment. And try really hard not to judge yourself for whatever it is, because judging yourself, this is something that I say all the time, judging yourself only makes you feel worse. It will never help. Judging or criticizing yourself in any way, it'll only make you feel worse in the long run. And the only thing that you can do is just observe with no judgment, with no positive or negative meaning attached. Don't like get on your phone and try to look up the reason why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, which I know a lot of us feel a pull to do that, but just sit there. And sometimes this can take a while of just sitting there and just sitting and let them be. Let yourself feel however it is that you need to feel. And then after you sit with your emotions and allow yourself to feel them with no strings attached, try to figure out the root cause of your negative emotions through shadow work. And this is something that I am not super experienced on, so I'm not going to talk a lot in this episode about shadow work, but I think I will probably make a future episode about it. But basically, shadow work is you ask yourself a question like, what are you feeling right now? And then you answer that question. And then like, why are you feeling that? And then you answer that question. And it's just like through every question that you answer, you ask a new question according to the response. So say like if someone yelled at you, for me, that can be really triggering. I don't like it whenever people raise their voices at me or around me. So the first question could be like, what happened to make you feel this negative emotion? And then you answer that, say like, this person yelled at me. And the next question you could ask is, what did you feel whenever this person yelled at you? And then you say, I felt scared. And then whenever you answer that, you write down another question that could be like, why did this make you feel scared? And then you could say like, because that person looked angry or whatever. And then you could ask after that, why is another person being angry triggering to you? Or just like, you just keep on asking questions about the response that you have to get to the deep-rooted reason to why something happens. And a lot of the time you discover that the reason why that emotion came up is because of a traumatic event in the past. And shadow work is a lot of work and it can be exhausting. So remember that whenever you do shadow work, also try really hard to take breaks and take time for yourself. And also, please don't try to do the shadow work until you let yourself sit there with the emotions. Because for me personally, I know that I would just be so overwhelmed if I didn't give myself the chance to sit and just be, and then all of a sudden went straight to work. I know at least for me, that would be really overwhelming. Okay, and then the last thing I have is after you identify what made you feel bad, you can try to figure out how you can address the issue. So like if it's something to do with family and you want to talk to them about it, talk to family about it. Or if it's something that you can personally change in your life, make a plan to make that change. Whatever it is, just plan out how you're going to address it. And for me, I think I talked about this in this episode. Well, I did whenever I first recorded, but I can't remember if it's still in the episode. But a lot of the time, whenever someone does something that hurts my feelings, a lot of the time I won't approach them because I feel like for me, most of the time in most situations, it just makes me more anxious and overwhelmed. And if I'm not ready for it, then I'm not ready for it. So instead I think of like what I can personally do to fix that. Like, is there a personal boundary that I can set so that I don't let those people get close enough to me to act that way, or whatever it is. Just trying to figure out what I can do to avoid something like that happening again without trying to control the other person. And if it does happen again, then from personal experience, I try really hard to just remember that like this person isn't me. And the way that they're acting more than likely has nothing to do with me. So maybe I'll emotionally distance myself from that person if I'm not able to get away from them, or if I have to spend a lot of time around them, because it's not just saying just take that person out of your life. I I feel like our generation is so quick to push people out of their lives over things that a lot of the time those people weren't even trying to do anything to hurt that person. It's just their own issues, and maybe they accidentally said something that hurt your feelings. And I feel like it's really weird that our generation just drops people out of their life so quickly. And I say that as someone who used to be just like that and who used to think just like that. But as I've matured, I've realized that dropping people out of your life for no reason a lot of the time doesn't really help. And I say no reason because sometimes our reasoning behind doing something, it's literally just like because you misunderstood each other, and it's like this whole misunderstanding that just kind of created this conflict that could easily be resolved through communication. Okay, my baby's starting to cry, so I'm gonna go. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry that the ending is kind of like quick paced, I guess. Whenever I first made this episode, like I went deeper into it, but like now I edited this yesterday, and then today I'm re-recording this part because I ended up not being able to find that audio. So I guess I'm just like not in the same headspace as I was whenever I recorded this, so I feel like it's not as detailed as the other recording was, but that's okay. Those are my tips, and I just want to remind you that whatever you feel, no matter what emotions are coming up, it's okay and it's normal. You're human, and telling yourself that it's stupid or other people telling you that it's stupid, that doesn't help. So first of all, if people try to tell you that your emotions are stupid in any way, again, that's literally their own issue. It has nothing to do with you. So just kind of try to ignore it. And I know sometimes it can be so hard to ignore those people whenever they're acting that way and talking that way to you, especially whenever it's someone that you're close to and it feels so invalidating. And that may be another thing that you need to do shadow work on, also just figuring out why it bothers you so much. But just try to remind yourself that like it's okay, and you're allowed to feel and process these emotions. You're allowed to take however long you need to get through them, despite the fact that other people are judgmental. Okay, I think she's getting hungry now, so I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for listening. See you next Sunday.